now, as you're watching this, something is happening that could directly affect your paycheck, your savings, and the future of your family. This is not just another headline. This is not politics for entertainment. This is about whether your money stretches far enough to make it through the month. It's about whether your grocery bill keeps rising while your income stays the same. It's about whether your rent, your mortgage, your utilities, and your medical costs are slowly squeezing the life out of your financial stability. And here's why this moment matters so much. Next Friday, a major announcement is expected, one that millions of Americans are watching closely. The words stimulus checks are back in the conversation. And for many families, that single phrase brings a mix of hope, anxiety, and skepticism. You're probably asking the same question so many others are asking right now. Is help actually coming, or is this just another promise that goes nowhere? This video is for you, the worker who feels like they're doing everything right but still falling behind. It's for parents stretching every dollar to keep food on the table. It's for seniors, caregivers, and young families wondering how long they can keep absorbing rising costs without breaking. And it's for anyone who has felt that knot in their stomach when checking their bank balance. We're breaking everything down in simple terms. No confusing language, no political spin, just clear explanations about what's being discussed, what next Friday's announcement could mean, and how it might impact your wallet. Stay with me, because what you hear in the final sections could change how you prepare for the weeks ahead. This isn't just news. This is your financial reality, and it's unfolding right now. Why stimulus checks are back in the conversation. To understand why stimulus checks are being talked about again, you have to understand what Americans are actually dealing with right now. Prices haven't just gone up, they've stayed up. Groceries cost more, gas costs more, insurance costs more, housing costs more. And for millions of households, income has not kept pace with reality. That gap, the space between what you earn and what life costs, is where financial stress lives. And policymakers know this. They're hearing it from voters, from economists, and from data that shows families are relying more on credit cards, draining savings, and skipping necessities. When that pressure builds high enough, the conversation about direct financial relief always returns. Stimulus checks aren't about luxury spending. They're about survival and stability. They're about keeping families afloat when inflation quietly erodes purchasing power. That's why, even after previous relief programs ended, the idea never fully disappeared. It went quiet, but it didn't go away. Now, something has shifted. Economic warning signs are flashing again. Consumer confidence has wobbled. Household debt levels are rising. And the risk of financial slowdown is being openly discussed. That's why next Friday's announcement matters so much. It could signal a policy pivot, or at least acknowledgement that millions of Americans need breathing room. For you, this means paying attention, because if stimulus-style relief returns in any form, it could impact taxes, benefits, inflation, and future economic policy. This isn't just about a check, it's about the direction the country takes in supporting everyday households. And here's the key point. When leaders start using language like targeted relief, economic stabilization, or support for households, it's rarely accidental. It's usually preparation for something bigger. So when you hear major announcement, don't brush it off. History shows these moments are often turning points. What makes next Friday's announcement different? You've probably heard big announcements teased before, and many times they led to disappointment. So what makes next Friday different? Timing, pressure, and momentum. Right now, economic pressure isn't theoretical. It's visible. It's showing up in missed payments, shrinking savings, and growing anxiety. Leaders don't just respond to charts, they respond to public sentiment. And that sentiment is shifting fast. Next Friday's announcement isn't happening in isolation. It comes after weeks of growing discussion about household affordability, economic resilience, and the strain on working families. When announcements are teased instead of dropped quietly, it's usually because officials want attention, and attention usually means impact. For you, that means expectations are being set deliberately. Officials don't hype announcements unless they believe the outcome will resonate. That doesn't guarantee stimulus checks tomorrow, but it strongly suggests movement. This is where suspense matters, because announcements can open doors. They can signal future programs, timelines, or frameworks. Sometimes the first announcement isn't the money, it's the roadmap, and roadmaps matter. They tell you whether relief is being discussed seriously or shelved indefinitely. They tell markets how to react, and they tell families whether to prepare, plan, or brace. If you've ever felt like financial news happens to you instead of for you, this is why staying informed matters. The people who benefit most are the ones who understand what's coming before it fully arrives. And that's why you're here, watching, listening, and preparing. How this could affect your wallet directly. Let's talk about what really matters, you. If stimulus checks or relief programs move forward, the impact isn't just a deposit. It affects how you plan bills, how you manage debt, and how secure you feel month to month. Even the expectation of relief can change financial behavior. For families living paycheck to paycheck, even temporary support can mean avoiding late fees, preventing overdrafts, or catching up on essentials. For seniors and fixed income households, it can mean stability instead of stress. For working parents, it can mean breathing room instead of constant panic. But there's another layer here, indirect effects. Relief programs influence inflation, interest rates, and long-term policy decisions. That's why announcements are carefully structured. Governments try to balance help without overheating the economy. This means the details matter. Who qualifies? How much? When? How often? These aren't minor questions. They determine whether relief actually helps or just makes headlines. And here's where you come in. Understanding these layers puts you ahead of the curve. It helps you make smarter decisions, avoid misinformation, and prepare instead of reacting. The worst feeling is being caught off guard financially. This video is about preventing that. The emotional reality. No one talks about. Beyond numbers and policies, there's something deeper happening. Emotional exhaustion. Americans are tired. Tired of juggling bills, tired of uncertainty, tired of being told things are improving while their bank account says otherwise. That emotional toll matters. Financial stress affects health, relationships, and mental well-being. When leaders talk about economic support, they're responding to more than data. They're responding to lived experiences. That's why stimulus conversations hit so hard. They're not about greed. They're about relief. They're about dignity. They're about feeling seen. Next Friday's announcement isn't just financial, it's symbolic. It's a message about whether everyday Americans are being heard. And that's why this moment feels heavy, because hope and disappointment often sit side by side. What you should watch for in the announcement. When the announcement happens, listen closely to the language. Words like immediate, targeted, phased, and future action all signal different things. Immediate means action now. Targeted means not everyone. Phased means patience required. Future action means planning, not payment. Understanding these cues helps you interpret reality instead of hype. Also watch for timelines. Dates matter. Vague promises don't pay bills, schedules do. This is where informed viewers gain an edge. Why misinformation is dangerous right now. Whenever stimulus is discussed, misinformation explodes. Fake dates, fake amounts, fake guarantees. That noise hurts people, especially families counting on help that isn't confirmed. That's why following reliable updates matters. Being informed protects your wallet from false hope. This channel exists to cut through noise, not create it. Preparing your household. The smart way. Preparation isn't panic, it's awareness. Keep documents organized, review budgets, avoid making decisions based on rumors, hope for relief, but plan responsibly. That balance protects you no matter what happens. What this means for the months ahead. Whether stimulus checks arrive or not, this moment signals something important. Economic pressure is being acknowledged. That alone changes the conversation. It opens doors, it shifts priorities, and that matters for your future. Why this moment feels different for working Americans. If you've been working nonstop and still feel like you're falling behind, you're not imagining it. This moment feels heavier because for many Americans, the traditional promise has cracked. Work hard, play by the rules, and things will eventually get easier. That promise doesn't feel real right now. And that's exactly why this announcement is hitting a nerve. For working families, the pressure isn't coming from one big expense. It's coming from everything at once. Groceries inch up every week. Insurance premiums quietly rise. Childcare costs explode. Rent renewals come with shocking increases. And while paychecks may technically be higher than years ago, they don't stretch the same way. That's why stimulus conversations don't feel like free money. They feel like acknowledgement, a recognition that something in the system isn't balanced anymore. And when leaders prepare a major announcement, it's often because they know frustration has reached a tipping point. For you, this matters because working Americans are the backbone of the economy. When you struggle, spending slows. When spending slows, businesses feel it. When businesses feel it, the entire system responds. That's how policy shifts happen, not overnight, but through pressure that can't be ignored anymore. This is also why the emotional tone around next Friday is so intense. It's not just hope, it's exhaustion mixed with cautious optimism. People want relief, yes, but more than that, they want stability, predictability, a chance to plan their lives without constant financial fear. If you've ever said, I'm doing everything I can, but it's still not enough, this moment is about you. And whether or not stimulus checks arrive immediately, the conversation itself signals something important. Working Americans are forcing the system to respond. How quickly things can change after one announcement. Here's something most people don't realize. One announcement can change everything faster than you expect. Markets react, agencies adjust, programs get drafted, and momentum builds almost overnight. History shows that when economic relief enters official conversation, things move in stages. First comes acknowledgement, then planning, then structure, then action. Each step brings more clarity and more pressure to follow through. That's why next Friday isn't just about what's said, it's about what it unlocks. Even cautious language can open the door to negotiations, proposals, and timelines that weren't possible before. Once relief is publicly discussed, it's much harder to walk away from it without consequences. For your household, this means staying alert matters more than ever. Policies don't drop out of nowhere. They build quietly, then arrive suddenly. The people who benefit most are the ones who understand the signs early. This is also where suspense comes in, because announcements often raise new questions. Who qualifies? When would anything happen? How much support is realistic? Those answers rarely come all at once, but they come faster once the conversation is officially alive. And let's be honest, uncertainty is uncomfortable. But uncertainty with awareness is powerful. It allows you to prepare instead of panic, to plan instead of react. This is why following updates isn't optional anymore. It's part of protecting your financial future. The bigger picture, what this says about America right now. Zoom out for a moment. This isn't just about stimulus checks. It's about where America is, economically and emotionally. A country can only push its people so far before something has to give. Rising costs, stagnant wages, growing debt. These aren't personal failures. They're structural pressures. And when millions of people feel them at once, the conversation changes. Next Friday's announcement reflects that shift. It signals that financial stress is no longer something happening quietly behind closed doors. It's front and center. It's shaping decisions. And it's forcing leaders to respond. For you and your family, that matters deeply because it means your struggles aren't invisible. They're part of a larger reality that can no longer be ignored. This doesn't mean instant fixes. It doesn't mean miracles, but it does mean movement. And movement is where hope begins. Why you can't afford to tune out. Now, here's the truth. The people who suffer most during economic change are the ones who stop paying attention, not because they're careless, but because they're tired, burned out, overwhelmed. But tuning out doesn't stop change from happening. It just means it happens without you being ready. This moment, right now, is about choosing awareness over exhaustion. It's about protecting your family by staying informed. It's about understanding what's coming before it hits your bank account, your bills, or your budget. Next Friday is a checkpoint, not the finish line, and what comes after could shape the months ahead. Stay with this story. Stay connected, stay informed, because when it comes to your money, your stability, and your future, knowing what's next is power. And this channel exists to make sure you never face that future uninformed.